The WrestleMania where the world discovered that Vince McMahon actually has a really small head. So I know the vast majority of you don't want a hot take on President Trump as part of your WrestleMania list marathon. Managed to skirt around it pretty well during 4 and 5, but I mean, there he is. The President of the United States, the leader of the free world, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Army and the Navy, shaving Vince McMahon, failing to take a stunner, and sipping his very first beer. Regardless of your politics, the Battle of the Billionaires was a hell of a hook, propelling Mania 23 to previously unheard of financial success, really grabbing the wrestling world by the... Well, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 23. Number 10, Lance Russell was nixed as Jerry Lawler's inductor in the Hall of Fame. And why? Because no one knows who he is. There are many critics of the WWE Hall of Fame, usually for a common reason. It's not the most accurate representation of wrestling history. Take, for example, the 2007 ceremony, which saw Jerry Lawler receive a more than deserved induction. For his inductor, Lawler chose dear friend Lance Russell, the eternal voice of Memphis wrestling, whose delivery made him an institution in the territory. Oft-criticized WWE director Kevin Dunn, this guy, I feel a kinship with him for some reason, chomp chomp, shot down Lawler's request because he felt fans would have no idea who Russell was. Instead, Lawler was stuck with William Shatner, who had taken part in a throwaway angle with the King in 1995. Shatner, as it was made obvious from his speech, knew nothing else about Lawler apart from their silly TV segments. Number 9, Carlito publicly complained about his lack of Mania match. It was decided that WrestleMania 23 would roll with 8 matches on the main show, which meant that a lot of wrestlers in the 3-brand era would be shut out of a Mania payday. One of those stars was Carlito, who wound up teaming with Ric Flair in the pre-show match against Gregory Helms and Chavo Guerrero, while every other unused male wrestler acted as a lumberjack in a sort of everybody gets a trophy sort of situation. In an interview with the Detroit Free Press days before the show, Carlito complained, apparently they had to make space for Kane versus Khali and Melina versus Ashley. If I politic and kiss ass, I should make it. I'm not going to cry or be bitter, there's always next year, and I don't want to get fired, but they're showing disrespect by not having Ric Flair at WrestleMania, and even more disrespect by not having Carlito there. Damn. Number 8, it marked Edge's first WrestleMania loss. The Undertaker improved his WrestleMania record to a staggering 15-0 after besting Big Baldy Bonce Blokey Bum Big Dave in a low-key good match. Most were well aware of the streak by this point, but fewer knew that Edge had his own spotless record. After toppling Mick Foley a year earlier, the rated R superstar brought his mark to 5-0 at WrestleMania. Then Edge took part in the 8-man Money in the Bank opener at WrestleMania 23 and was famously incapacitated by Jeff Hardy. The spot was a Mania-worthy moment, but it made for Edge's first loss. Food for thought, if Edge actually won this match, he might as well have, since he won actual winner Mr. Kennedy's briefcase off him a month later. WWE could have run Undertaker vs. Edge the next year at WrestleMania 24 as streak versus streak. Number 7, Chris Benoit is the only man to retain the US title on WrestleMania's main show. Counting pre-show matches, there have been 6 United States title bouts in WrestleMania history. The fact that the strap has been around for 13 WrestleManias gives you an idea of how expendable the belt occasionally feels. Of those 6 matches, 2 were relegated to the pre-show, Sheamus and Daniel Bryan's no contest at 27, and Kalisto retaining over Ryback at 32. Of the 4 US title matches that actually happened on the pay-per-view, the gold changed hands 3 times. John Cena over Big Show at 20, JBL over Chris Benoit at 22, and Cena over Rusev at 31. The only instance of the champion retaining on the actual pay-per-view card itself happened in Detroit this year, when Benoit defeated MVP. Let's just say the odds aren't looking good for Y2J to alter that record this year. Number 6, Rob Van Dam currently has the most WrestleMania wins without a loss. Not counting pre-show matches, which is vital to this stat, only 5 wrestlers in WWE history are currently undefeated at WrestleMania with 3 or more wins. 4 of those 5 sit at precisely 3-0, Demolition Axe, Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal, and Sable, who, as we've made clear, is the female Undertaker. Rob Van Dam trumps them all by a lone victory, with his record standing at 4-0. Mr. Monday Night won his first Mania match at 18, capturing William Regal's Intercontinental title. 2 years later, he and Booker T retained Raw's Tag Team Gold in a 4-way. In 2006, RVD won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and a year later, he pinned Matt Striker in an 8-man tag at WrestleMania 23. Admittedly, Van Dam did take the fall in the pre-show match at WrestleMania 19, but that doesn't count, and this is my list, suck my dick. Number 5, Hulk Hogan was originally supposed to have been Donald Trump's representative. There are lots of jokes to be made about comparing Hulk Hogan to Trump, but make them yourselves, I like this job. 20 years after famously slamming Andre the Giant at the Pontiac Silverdome, the early idea for the Battle of the Billionaires was for Hogan to battle Big Show, the once kayfabe son of Andre the Giant. However, Paul White took a 1-year sabbatical beginning at the end of 2006 to heal his battered body and to lose weight. The Great Khali was then considered, which is why he was moved from ECW to Raw at the dawn of 2007. Hogan needed a giant to slam. However, before WrestleMania, Hogan and McMahon had a real-life blow-up about Hogan's payday, and so the Bobby Lashley-Umaga plan came together. Number 4, Trump agreed to take the stunner despite an assistant's objections. Just to punctuate the tornado of shaving cream and McMahon tears, Austin had one of his noted DTA moments moments doling out a stunner to Donald Trump. According to Austin, Vince suggested the idea of Trump receiving a stunner, and it didn't take much for him to agree to it. He simply asked Vince if it would be a good thing for the show, and the boss assured him that the crowd would go berserk. Austin adds that an unnamed handler of Trump's was standing by during the conversation and fervently tried to talk the mogul out of it. Trump ignored the pleas, deferring to McMahon's instinct as an experienced showman. Number 3, Melina and Ashley's women's title match was very nearly scrapped. 2005 Diva Search winner Ashley Massaro was scheduled to challenge WWE Women's Champion Melina at WrestleMania 23, while the other divas on the roster would surround ringside as lumberjills. Everyone gets a trophy. Some people have bemoaned the treatment of the women's titles going into WrestleMania this year, but let's keep it relative. Melina and Ashley weren't even sure their match would take place. The two waited with their female peers by the entranceway throughout McMahon's head shaving, as their match appeared to be in limbo for time reasons. At one point, they were apparently told the match was off. However, just prior to making their entrances, Melina recalls being told by one of the producers, "Yeah, we can squeeze you in." Number 2, John Cena is the only man to win a world title match at 3 straight Manias. In WrestleMania history, only 6 men have won world championship matches at consecutive Manias. 5 of them are Hulk Hogan at WrestleManias 2 and 3, Yokozuna at 9 and 10, Steve Austin at 14 and 15, Triple H at 18 and 19, and The Undertaker at 23 and 24. John Cena has managed the feat more than once, not only winning back-to-back at WrestleManias 25 and 26, but also winning 3 straight from 21 through 23, this time knocking off HBK in the main event. He also became the first man since Hogan at WrestleMania 3 to make 2 successful defenses of a world title at concurrent WrestleManias. Number 1, WrestleMania 23 held the record of most bought WWE pay-per-view for 5 years. The hype train for the Trump-McMahon showdown barreled full speed ahead through sports and entertainment media outlets in the precious weeks before WrestleMania 23, and the marketing worked as diehards and casuals alike bought into the frenzy, helping WWE establish a new pay-per-view high mark. In all, WrestleMania 23 drew 1.2 million buys on pay-per-view, smashing the previous record holder of WrestleMania 21 by approximately 115,000 buys. It would hold that record for 5 whole years. In fact, the only wrestling pay-per-view to top what 23 did in terms of buy rates was WrestleMania 28 by a mere 17,000. And with the network forever changing how people buy Mania, it's likely that Mania 23 will be number 2 forever. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here, and you can follow Justin Henry, the man who writes these articles, on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.